Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's doing well. Beautiful day here. Going to have a little chat about witness to thinking. I'm going to talk about noticing your own thoughts. So if you're walking around and or you're driving, say, and maybe previously your thoughts just sort of were running like an express train and you were caught up in them, but you didn't really sort of notice, you just got lost in them. But sometimes what can happen is periodically you can see what you're thinking, you become aware. So when this starts to happen, this is the beginning of being a witness to your thoughts. And what you might have noticed is you could have been sitting in your car and waiting for traffic to start, or maybe you've been in a quiet space and you've started to notice what your thoughts are saying. And maybe at this time it doesn't happen all the time, it just sort of happens periodically. But what you may have noticed is a lot of those thoughts are quite negative, and they're saying a lot of negative things. And what tends to happen at first is people will either try to push it away because they don't want to think about it, or push it down, suppress it for the same reason. And sometimes you might hear people saying things like, oh, my mind's driving me crazy, or maybe tell their mind to shut up. What they don't actually realise is your mind is a very intelligent organ, and it's actually trying to help you. It's bringing up these thoughts for a reason. But in the beginning, we don't realise that. So maybe you've had thoughts about jealousy or something that happened in the past that made you angry or frustrated, or something that happened to you and you're ruminating it. And in the past, you just kept ruminating it over and over again. But when you became a witness to it, you created a bit of distance so you actually could see it. And that's the time when you might have tried to push it away or tried to ignore it. That's really what's known as witness consciousness, or the start of it. That moment when you become aware of what you're thinking, no matter how brief it is, even if you can't maintain it, it means that a shift in your consciousness is happening. You're becoming aware of what you're thinking rather than being sort of running like an express train and you're lost in it, and you might get lost in it all night for days, weeks, and maybe even has affected your sleep and stuff in the past. What your mind is trying to do is it's trying to make you aware that you've got stuff that you've stored within you, and it's trying to bring it to your attention so that you can release it and you can heal. But in the beginning, if you don't understand that, you think your mind is against you, and you might think very negatively of your mind, but it's actually trying to help you, because what it's doing is your body knows that you've stored stuff or suppressed stuff, and it knows that that's unhealthy for you. It knows that that's the cause of anger, frustration, jealousy, judgment, irritation, self-blame, self-criticism. And in order for you to get past this, it's trying to bring it up into your awareness so that you can do something about it. And a lot of the time, people don't realise that. They try to push it away or suppress it. And they just push it further down again. You start to become aware that this is happening. This is your chance to get that out of you and release it and heal. Maybe in the past, something happened to you, a bad experience that maybe you didn't quite like. It's all different types of experiences on the scale. And at that time, you weren't able to process it and handle it. So you repress it or you push it away. But it doesn't actually go anywhere. What happens is it gets locked down inside you. And then later on, your body and your mind will try to resurface it again so that you can get it out of your system and finally release it and let it go. But sometimes we don't understand that this is what's happening. So once you can become aware of it, then you can start to deal with any of these things that have been repressed. Majority of people walking around have got so much stuff repressed inside them, and they act it out in all sorts of ways. And maybe you might think, oh, we've acted it out, or you might think, push it away and that's it gone. But it will just keep reappearing and reappearing because your body and your mind is a very smart system, and it knows that that's unhealthy. It knows if you keep that stuff inside, it will just rot away at you. And it's very, very harmful to you, not just psychologically, but also physically. Because what occurs in the mind acts on the body as well. The two go together. It's a very normal process. It happens to everybody. But the sooner that you can become aware of it, the sooner you can start to do something about it, and it won't affect your life. If you're starting to become aware, rather than pushing it away or repressing it or getting angry with yourself for these thoughts, start to look at it in a way where you're observing it and ask yourself, why am I thinking these things? Start to inquire, because what you'll find is it's not only are you thinking about it, but there will also be an emotion attached to it if you pay attention. So it could be an emotion of anger or fear or judgment or self-criticism or whatever. It will always rise up along with the thinking. And you'll feel it maybe in your gut or in your chest. It could be something that happened to you years ago, a long, long time ago, or it could have been something that happened to you yesterday. What we want to do now is try to start to listen to that and release it. Start to release it from the body. And once you start to release it, it will release from the mind as well. And then the more you practice, the better and better you'll get at it. And what you want to do is to stop it happening in the future. So the more you practice releasing, the more aware you'll become to your thinking. and the better you'll become at responding to new situations in the future. So all those things that you experienced in the past that maybe you didn't like, you can start to let them go and not allow things to become trapped again in the future. And the more and more you release, better you'll feel. Ruminating will stop over time, depending on how big the issues are. Some might take a little while, but you'll release them bit by bit. And smaller things you'll be able to release quite quickly. So many times I've often heard people say to me, my mind just won't shut up. And you know, it is quite funny when people say things like that, not because you're laughing at them, but because you understand, but maybe they don't, that their mind is trying to catch their attention and say, look, you've got this stored inside you, we need to get rid of it. You can start to shift that thinking and see that your mind is actually and your body is trying to get you to release old stuff. And you start to witness it, start to inquire as to why you're thinking that, where did it come from, what happened there. And I'm going to look at this and say, okay, why am I holding on to this for so long? This is something that happened years ago. I shouldn't be still thinking about it. And now I'm going to work on the next time it comes up. I'm going to allow it to come up. I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to feel the emotion. And then I'm just going to release it. Now, at first, you might want to fight with it. You might want to ignore it, and in the beginning, it can be a little bit difficult. But the more you work with it, there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. A thought and an emotion cannot harm you at all in any way. It's just energy moving through the body. Experience that you had is over. It happened a long time ago. It's done and dusted. All that's left is the experience of it that comes through, and you can release it. When it comes up, don't judge it. Don't get mad at it. Think about it in a way where you're grateful, because you should be grateful, because it's actually releasing you from a trap and you can let it go. And if it's quite a big thing, it might come up quite a few times, and that's okay. That happens with bigger things. So you might have to release it over a period of a couple of weeks. Majority of smaller things you'll probably be able to release, you know, maybe once, twice, and it'll be gone. Just for example, if you're sitting and you're thinking and you catch yourself thinking, you're aware, start to ask yourself, okay, why am I thinking this? What emotion am I feeling along with it? And allow it to rise up within you. Accept it, welcome it, tell it to come up. And then as it comes up, don't judge it. Just sit with it for a moment. Stay calm. Don't react. And then just take a deep breath and say, I release you. And then that means that when you're out and about in the world, you'll be a much better person when you're interacting with other people. And the more stuff you release, if it starts to happen to you when you're out and about, where someone annoys you or frustrates you, you'll be able to take care of it straight away so that you don't allow more stuff to come in. because what you want to try and do is prevent more stuff from coming in. You want to keep that out. And then as that energy comes up and is getting released, you'll transform it and it will go from something that was negative and causing you harm, and it will get released into a lighter energy. A lot of the time, you don't even need to know. Like sometimes it'll come up and you might be able to relate it to an experience, and then other times you mightn't know what it's attached to, but that's okay. You don't actually need to know all the time. I'm letting it go and release it. And then it's just practice and practice. You'll finally been able to release it and you won't be holding that in anymore. And the more that you can be the observer, the witness to the thoughts, the more that you'll be able to catch your thinking and catch that stuff that you've got stored. Because a lot of time, a lot of people are walking around, they don't even realize they've got all this stuff stuffed inside them, or they're acting out and they don't really understand why they can't control their anger, control their frustration or their irritation or their patience. And it's just a matter of carrying on and practicing it, letting it come up and releasing. And you'll know that you're getting somewhere because those thoughts will stop coming up, or different thoughts will start coming up, because when you release one thing, then another thing might come up, and it will just carry on that way until basically you become empty. Until next time, take care.